I'm about to go live with the Jarvis. We are live with the legend, Jeff Jarvis. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday, if that's a thing for you, if that's when you're watching. Most of you are probably listening. But I've got the great Jeff Jarvis joining me, and it's been way too long. He was the first guest I talked to after my parents' accident, and we had a great conversation, and then he had an accident, and now he is you are, I don't know why I'm talking about you like you're not sitting there. You've gone through all kinds of shit, so I'm happy.
Well, it was all preventable. It's stupid. So I was stripping. I was stripping the bed to put the sheets in the laundry, which is a virtuous thing to do. And I lost a test of strength with a too well tucked in blanket. My bare feet flipped out from underneath me. I went up and I went down like a cartoon character on my back on the floor. And I cursed wildly, but I functioned. I went to my dentist appointment that Wednesday. This was a Sunday. And then by the end of the week, I was in miserable pain and I fell off the bed and I was taken by ambulance to hospital because I had a blood infection too, because of the dentist appointment. And then it also went into my spine. And so I'm pathetic.
I don't like the way you're talking. I don't like the way you're positioning any of this. First of all, none of that could have been prevented. What were you going to have your assistant?
I could have more carefully taken the sheets down. I was trying to be in a rush. I was trying to be kind of.
Okay. I mean, what kind of a way to think is like, I would have, I mean, I hope you're joking. Like if only I had been, don't rethink that. Don't live in the past. Like be aggressive when you take those sheets off, or hire an assistant, hire a servant. Yeah. Why don't you have a servant? You're Jeff Jarvis. Someone should be removing the sheets for you.
I know.
Yeah, by the way, in the chat, my friend Rachel says, changing sheets and a dentist appointment, that is a huge flex on Pete. That's true. I don't know that I could do either of those, much as both in 1 week. That's a lot of heavy lifting right there. Well, I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad to see you.
I'm doing well. I'm getting there. As I told Pete, I'm now in preparation for the Olympics and mall walking. I take my cane and go tottering around.
You and the other mall walkers, you got a cane there for a little while. Do you recognize the other mall walkers? You're making friends? You're meeting people?
No. But you recognize their outfits. They have a certain look. They're not there to shop. They're not going anywhere. They're just going. Right.
It's something you do during the winter in the Northeast. You want to walk. It's too cold, and right now too snowy. How did you, with all these injuries, how did you weather this storm? I mean, who shoveled your walk?
We hired someone, and then I felt terribly guilty when my wife did the next bit. Mm-hmm. But I can't do that now.
She got out there and
you as a now single as a batch.
Yeah, I'm a batch.
I would have been just completely screwed without my wife. I would have been nowhere. Because I couldn't bend. I couldn't pick anything up. There's all kinds of things I couldn't. How would I have eaten? How would I have done anything?
Well, that's how I have been since I got separated. All the responsibilities that my ex-wife had, now I don't eat. That's why I'm in such amazing shape. But I did shovel the walk, and I went over to the house and did that for her and for my daughter. And I also usually spend the day helping somebody else out, which I did. Because speaking of do it, I didn't. It was heavy snow though. They called it heart attack snow.
Yeah. Well, we have a guy who does the driveway. So
he's undocumented.
Probably.
Let's get to that real quick. This is continuing to happen. The immigration fights, and they continue to blame everything on undocumented people, whether it's violence or voting. They continue to scapegoat, and I think it's backfiring. I think it's backfiring bad. Republicans and the Trump administration have lost tremendous amount of support because of their heavy-handed tactics, not only amongst most of us, but amongst Hispanic Americans who he had a surprisingly large amount of support for. So that's not going well, at least, right? Like nothing seems to be going well. Nobody watched that State of the Union, and anybody who didn't come away with it like, oh, now I feel inspired by his plans for the country. He should go on tour.
Yeah, but I got a different theory. I think they knew that they were governing from the minority, from the rabid, wacky extremist minority. They knew that they were going to lose at some point, and they want to accomplish every dastardly, horrible, odious thing they can do in the meantime. The first time around, they saw it, I think, as a wasted opportunity. And now, with the likes of Stephen Miller and Project 2025, they're just doing every horrible thing they can imagine. I mean, it gets to trivial. Having Melania run a Security Council meeting. I mean, it's just
what? I don't know.
Yes. Oh, yeah, they're doing that.
What?
And as a way to say, you don't matter, UN, you don't matter, Security Council. This is what we think of all you. We're sending Melania, which is also a commentary on her that she does that, but we know she has no self-respect. She's married to that schmuck. Um, uh, but they just wake up every day and say, what can we destroy today? What can we do today? And so my theory is that they don't, inside the White House, Stephen Miller doesn't give a crap about polls. They knew that they're going to lose the midterms, at least in the House. So they use the first 2 years to do everything they can. They have a Supreme Court for a generation. Congress is scared to death, so nothing's going to come through, and he'll veto anything that they don't like. So they got 4 years to fuck up the country, and they're doing it at a rapid pace.
A lot of damage, and we need to acknowledge the damage that you're doing and accept it. But don't we also need to acknowledge and accept the fight that we are seeing?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we've got to defend the people who were starting with, but they needed enemies, right? So they make enemies out of nowhere. You can't. We've talked about this before. You can't really do black people because some of them voted for them, and it's been done. You can't really do the Jews because it's been done. You can do women to an extent, but that's tough. So immigrants were easy. Brown-skinned immigrants, that was the easy target. And trans kids, which came along kind of out of nowhere. So they had to make enemies. It doesn't matter. They don't have anything.
Which is not to say they don't still have a target on women, black folks.
They do. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they absolutely do.
LGBT. The trans people are the enemy too, because they're really terrifying. They're really a major threat to our girls' sports. By the way, save girls' sports, protect girls' sports is the rallying cry against trans women in sports, but they don't seem to care about the women's hockey team. Like they care about one thing with women's sports, but not the vast majority of things like pay equity or just treating them fairly or not making jokes at the gold medalist team expense. What do you make of Kash Patel in that locker room? What do you make of Trump calling? What do you make of these men's hockey players that keep stepping on their own dicks every day? It seems like they apologize and stop acting like they don't have choices or agency.
Well, Kash Patel is just a shriveled dick. He's an awful human being. He's terrible. Wow. And we know that. And he acted like an idiot, but we know that. The women's hockey team is great. I'm trying to find now. I don't think we can play the video, but Hillary Knight from the women's hockey team did a great talk on TikTok. And just saying, screw you all. We don't care. Women's hockey has won far more than men's hockey all these years. We don't need you. We're fine. And then along came, who was it? For the men's hockey team, who at least was Austin Matthews, came along with a mea culpa. Like, I deeply regret accepting the White House invitation, he said.
Oh, really? Okay, good.
It turned the entire men's hockey team into a joke. As the team captain, I truly admire the women's hockey team, their courage for refusing to attend. So at some level, it came back around. It was a humiliation. And the other thing is, the women's hockey team do it for the love. The men's hockey team are pros. They do it for the money. And I think there's a big difference there.
A disparity in the behavior as well. Like, it shows in the maturity and the goals and the... Yep. Also there's the whole Canada rivalry thing too. They made an AI of one of the star hockey players trashing Canada. He didn't say it, and then they shared it. The White House, I think, shared a video of a player saying trashing Canada, and he plays with and against Canadians. It's really bad. And that guy, it's like your fault for being a MAGA in the first place. You can kiss their ass. They're not going to necessarily return that favor. They trashed the guy with a fake video.
Well, they had a fake video of Trump scoring the goal and beating up Canadians. I
saw that. That was good.
Is this going too far, Pete, to wonder whether some of the macho behavior of the men's team is trying to overcompensate for heated rivalry?
Oh, that's great. I don't think there's a correlation, but it's fun to think about. And speaking of this issue, I want to give you the opportunity and the platform to rant and rave about Scott Galloway. And I think because he's positioned himself as a champion for men, I think he's done a decent job, like other people, at diagnosing some of the problems. It's the solutions that he offers, but even some of the problems that he diagnoses, I think he diagnoses them wrong. But you are one of his biggest critics, so go ahead.
He just drives me batshit. He just drives me crazy. He's an attention hog, and here we are doing this. Not that I don't like it too. The first time I happened to be with him when his first time, I think, on TV on Stephanie Ruhl's daytime show back in the day.
Hmm.
And I could see it was like they plugged the coax into his veins.
Ha! Loves it.
He just loved it. He went nuts for it. And so you see that to this day. He will say anything to get on TV and get attention. Now, I knew him before that because he attended a conference I used to go to called DLD in Munich, and he had a standard shtick. He would get up and I'm going to do 200 slides in 4 minutes. And he did all kinds of glib lines, and he does that in that delivery that he does. And he was entertaining, and he was often wrong. He made predictions. Now he comes out as if he's this great spokesperson for manhood. And frankly, Pete, you are a far better spokesperson for what men should be. And I say that seriously. You've talked about that. That's when we first met on MSNBC. You talked about that in a serious, heartfelt way. He does it in a creepy way, where he's all concerned about the sex lives of young people and about how boys basically need to get laid more, and they need to get their act together so they get laid. That's the point. He's just
I need to drink more.
He's just a creep to me.
Yeah.
And he will say anything to get attention. The other day he said he thought it was just disgusting for men to be in the delivery room with their wives. And he's doing that so he'll get quoted. So he'll do what I just did. I just can't stand him. And so when he or Jonathan Haidt's another one, Jordan Peters, the Canadian,
Jordan Peterson. Get it right.
Thank you. Get it
right.
If I got to insult him, at least get it right. I can't stand them. I just can't stand them.
I don't like.
They don't speak for me as men.
I agree. I appreciate the kind things you said about me. It's fashioning yourself an expert when you're not is dangerous, and also there's still a lot that remains to be researched about what are the causes and effects of the issues that we're dealing with around men and boys and gender and identity in the U.S., much less anywhere else, and how we can all be better. So it's I think helpful to kind of stay humble and modest about this issue as we try to navigate it and stop acting like all of the answers all the time.
Yeah, that's the problem.
And it's modeling behavior. I mean, you mentioned what I've done. I don't like analyze necessarily the issue as much as I just be vulnerable. So I try to role model a certain type of behavior that I think that men and boys that I was role modeled for me by a lot of people who I look up to, and in hopes that will work. And I am by far filled with fault. So
and that's the thing about what you do. You start with acknowledging those faults. You start with acknowledging that weakness, that responsibility. He does the opposite. He knows it all, tells everybody what to do.
Yeah.
And you're a fool if you don't listen to him.
I want to speak more to the men who are middle-aged, separated or divorced, not necessarily in the same exact situation as I am, but in that their wives were the ones who ended the marriage. There's millions of us, and I think most of the guys in my category whose wives wanted to end their marriages never tell a soul if they can control the message that it was their wives. Like the ego of your wife of 20 years dumping you. It's not like getting dumped by your girlfriend of a year or 2 years. When your wife, and I'm shortening my version of what happened in my life, but breaks up with you, dumps you, that's a hard thing to deal with, much less talk about. So I really want to focus on that kind of demographic, that cohort of men who have a hard time rebounding and ended up too often with a bottle of whiskey and a bullet.
Or even those who are still in marriages who feel rejected after the years, who don't know what to do and don't know how to cope, or don't know how to change the relationship. The relationships change fundamentally.
Let's talk, gents. All right, let's get to two issues that you really are an expert on and can speak to. And most importantly, most recently, I guess, is the news that Netflix is walking away from buying the massive Warner Brothers empire, which basically lays out only one other bidder, and that is Larry Ellison and his empire now owning Paramount. And what does that mean for brands and networks like CNN and HBO? But first of all, kind of what happened? Netflix seemed to have had this tied up. So much pressure from the White House, the administration itself, which there never, ever, we should say, should be really involvement. Although the government should play a role in antitrust, right? Well, what do you think about why Netflix didn't make the deal, or didn't try to outbid, in this case, Larry Ellison's company?
I think Netflix spoke honestly when they said, we saw a price at which it was worth it. and we did that price. In the process, they cost Warner Brothers, they cost Paramount more, right? They raised the bidding and raised the price, so it was sport to an extent. And they got a breakup fee from Paramount, paid for by Paramount, of $3 billion. So I think Netflix's view is, if we can get it for this price that we've calculated, and by the way, we're not going to take the channels, so there was no CNN in the deal. CNN was going to be put out on an ice flow like MS Now on Versant. So they just wanted the entertainment part. It was complementary to what they're doing. If they could get it for a certain price, they said fine. When Paramount, came along and offered more, Netflix just said no. That was it. And democracy is all the more fucked as a result, because now Barry Weiss presumably will be in charge of CNN, and we see what she's done to CBS. Pardon me?
Presumably, I mean,
presumably it's not said yet, but I think if it's not Barry Weiss, it's a Barry Weiss look-alike, sound alike, act alike, right? It's going to be someone like that the Ellisons put in. Could be Scott Jennings, for God's sakes, in charge of it. Who knows?
Ooh.
And so CNN's going to be completely ruined. And not that CNN has been a paragon of brilliance in recent times, because they've been acting scared in the face of this. I was on twice to say what the employees there couldn't say about this very story. The last time I was on doing this, Scott Jennings, as soon as I said, you're in danger here of this network being taken over by the Ellisons, he gave a look to the camera, a sly look, like, I'm going to be in charge.
I shared that yesterday. You shared that on social media.
Yeah. And he is. And so that's what CNN is going to represent now. And I watch MS Now. So much that I can even say that without having to pause, realize it's not MSNBC. But they don't have the reporting crew that CNN has. They had NBC, which wasn't huge, but that's gone now too. So CNN is where we did go when big news happens. If there's a war, God help us, with Iran, we would go to CNN because they have the people around the world. Well, I'm not going to trust them at all anymore. And there are going to be a lot of people fired because they seem dangerous to Trump. There are going to be people who will leave for conscience over career. And there's just going to be downsizing all over. And so CNN is ruined. Now, I've said this with you before, Pete, and I say it all the time. To my mind, mass media is just dead. It's walking dead, but it's dead. And this is just another nail in the coffin of it. I've talked with you about how I don't think liberals trust the New York Times anymore. The Washington Post has been absolutely devastated. CNN is now going to be torn apart. What do we have? I mean, MS Now I do count on for some perspective, at least 7 hours a day.
What we have left is a different question than what do we have, right? Because rise of independent media, and we can... That's where we go. Some of the different outlets that are actually doing journalism. You give Don Lemon credit, which is hard for me because I'm not a huge Don Lemon fan, but for the journalism that he's been doing. But there's so many others, specifically
Acosta, Katie Couric built a whole business.
What's his name? Roger Sullenberger, who is that his name, on Substack, broke the story that there were 50 pages missing in the Epstein files that dealt with Trump's allegations accuser. It was him on his Substack. It
was independent journalism. So where I end up here is I don't mourn as much as you might think I would, because I've finally come, after having devoted my life and career to the institutions of mass media, I give up on them. We are not here to save them. We are not here to fix them. We are here to replace them.
What do you think of the question that my friend Kim asks in the chat that I often wonder myself? Why are there no, quote, good rich people starting their own and hiring these good journalists? I mean, there's certain nonprofits where a lot of wealthy people do give money to, and that includes, I think, NPR and PBS, as well as ProPublica, the Estates. What's that nonprofit, States Newsroom? I gotta go support them and talk more about them, but. Go ahead.
So I was on with another podcast talking about media with Julie Roginski and Michelle Kitty earlier today.
How dare you?
And we were talking about the problem that the left has, that they seem more tied to the presumptions of old mass media, of its scale, of its presumed power and prestige. They haven't recognized that it's gone. Whereas on the right, they come along, and for not much money, you can fund Turning Point, or you can fund PragerU, or you can fund all of these things. And no, it's not as big as Walter Cronkite. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It infiltrates the society and public discourse at a level that the right understands is useful. It's bottom up. It's guerrilla media tactics. And that's what the right has gotten, and the left hasn't understood that.
In terms of the purchase of Warner Brothers by Ellison's, what's it, Skydance? Is that his company? His name?
Yeah, officially Skydance Paramount now. Yep.
Is it definitely going to happen? And if so, when? And when do we start to see, major changes? If you think
it's not done yet, because there still has to be. I presume there has to be a shareholder approval of the deal. I don't have any share. I used to work at Time Inc., which was Time Warner, which was AOL Time Warner, which was AT&T Warner, which was now Warner Discovery. And by the way, it's a point I texted about earlier this morning. Warner is the Cootie Corp. Every company that absorbs it is poisoned. Time Inc., AOL, AT&T, Discovery. They all got killed practically by their association with Warner. You add to this the fact that the Ellisons are taking on a huge amount of debt, and Oracle isn't as healthy as one would think because it has issues. I think in the long run, it's going to be a terrible business decision. They're buying dead properties. It's not going to, the old media days are over, but they're going to do it, and they're going to do damage when they have it, and they're going to use it to make friends with the now president. So it's going to take a little while. Obviously, it's not going to be a slightest problem when it comes to antitrust, though there should be, but that's gone. So it'll sail through any necessary government approval, and I don't know exactly how quickly it'll happen, but I think we're going to see the chill is already on. Who's going to book me on CNN now? Nobody. Not going to happen because nobody wants to lose their job. Who's going to stop them from doing that? Because no, this guy criticizes the Ellisons. Are you kidding me? No. So the chills, it's in the deep freeze right now. The question I have is, what happens if you're someone like Anderson Cooper, who left 60 Minutes, which was a hell of a gig, very prestigious. I'm sure, yet more money in the piggy bank. Now he's stuck with the same bosses. What does he do? What do you think happens?
I mean, I don't know. I have no idea. I really don't. I think that there's so much up in the air. I think that they do what they think is going to make the most money and try to position themselves in a lane that they think they can get the most viewers and clicks and so on. But I also think that the way that things work with algorithms and social media and news in general is the people that get the most clicks and make the most money are the ones who are the most hyperbolic, the ones who have the best thumbnails, the ones who have the most clickbaity messages and titles. So, I mean, you know that as well as I do. So I think that it's never supposed to have been, it's supposed to be a loss leader for profit. But the more that we do things that try to get us attention and subscriptions and ads and so on, I mean, I've never been really good at that. And I don't feel, my conscience doesn't feel good about doing that. So that combination of things means it's hard for me. And I want to talk about the most important issues with smart people with nuanced, thoughtful conversation. But that is not going to support a major media empire. Much less a small.
But the days of the major media empire are over. It's back to what you were saying before. It's independent media, a whole bunch of independent media.
But look at Midas Touch. Right. Look at the biggest progressive outlets and what they are doing. I mean, I think Zeteo is a lot better than Midas Touch along those lines, but Midas Touch has to do a lot of those things and be, very kind of controversial and hyperbolic about it, and using comedy obviously and being entertaining helps. So I think to get a critical mass so that you can support a staff of 5 or 10, much less hundreds or thousands. And where does the international reporting come from? Where does the reporting come from that does not get those clicks? The local reporting on a city hall or the Department of Education or, pollution and environmental issues. And so yet I'm arguing against myself when there are smart people not a lot of space for them, but doing great reporting on things like climate.
There are, and one thing that we should be aware of, cognizant of in this new independent media world is that we're part of a larger ecosystem, and that we've got to be more collaborative. That you want to go to climate watch sites and link to them and quote them and share with them. And if you want to cover Ukraine, use Kiev Post, which does brilliant reporting by people who are Ukrainian, who understand the culture and understand the politics and the geography far better than an American who helicopters in. And I think internationally, country after country, you find the people who are in situ. And there's podcasters and there's newsletter authors in those countries. And I think there's ways to build looser networks of those independent folks across the world.
I'm great points. By the way, Heated with Emily Atkin is one of the best independent climate reporters, and she's just added a former CBS producer who reported on climate to her outfit. So Heated.Earth, Heated with Emily Atkin, look it up. Anyway, the other thing, creating those networks that you mentioned is an important thing to do. But my concern, and I'm seeing this with some of my quote progressive content creator influencer friends, is that they're becoming conspiracy theorists. They don't care about the truth, which used to be something that it was almost entirely on the right, but I'm seeing that a lot on the left. I mean, I'm seeing smart people touting some uncorroborated reports about people who we already know are bad. Like if you know somebody raped 10 women or murdered 10 people, you don't need to lie about 2 others.
No.
And what they're specifically lying about is some of this Epstein stuff and the cannibalism bullshit. I don't know if you paid attention to that. There's some people with huge followings reporting that as fact, and they're on the left, they're progressives, they're Trump haters, and that needs to be called out and needs to be nipped in the bud by those of us who might not have as much of a following. And when you do that, do they come after you? All their supporters start calling you a pedophile or whatever. I'm like, no, listen, there's no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein ate children. Oh, well, then you must be a pedophile. Watch out for this guy. He's a pedophile. I'm like, what are we doing?
Yeah,
we can't do that.
I know. And at the same time, now, if you go, I'm still on Facebook. People wonder why, but I watch them all. And now I can't trust. There's a certain kind of post. It's a certain long post. And it's appeared recently, and it's got to be AI. Oftentimes it's a heartwarming story. Sometimes it's a nasty story, but there's a certain length to it. And you don't know who's putting up what and what you can believe actually came from a human being too. Which is an issue.
Yeah, we got to find ways to root that out as much as possible. So often people now are creating AI videos of things that someone might say.
Right.
I saw something that Michael Jordan, they made an AI video of Michael Jordan touting the leadership of former NBA player Tim, what's his name, from the Spurs. And it was this whole long video, and I was like, I don't think this is real, but it sounded exactly like Michael Jordan. So you go to the comments, and a lot of people be like, no, he never said that. But it's like not an important story. It's not, but it is still false. But that needs to be outlawed. Like that needs to be against the law, or at least that social media companies need to say, if you're creating this kind of nonsense, we need to delete their accounts. Is that too much? Too harsh?
Well, they depend upon it. So I went on Facebook. I recommends all these people I don't know or people I would never associate with, or vice versa. For some reason, I accidentally clicked on my recommended friends. And it was a full box of nothing but slop faces, completely made up AI faces with nothing behind it. It's insidious everywhere. So Facebook is now, the videos on Facebook, high percentage of them are slop. It's becoming more and more useless there.
Is there a way to police it? Should they police it?
Yes, there are ways to get some part of it. Just like they've gone after spam over the years. Should they? Sure. Are they ever going to win? No. Do they care to? I don't think so. I think it's slopland now. And a lot of the slop is to them fun. So, the good news here is things like actual podcasters sitting in front of you, and you can tell that really is Pete, because if it were made up Pete, he'd have hair.
That is for sure. At least a slick hat. Maybe we should host a show called Slopland, where every week we look at the sloppiest of slop.
Whew. That'd be rough duty.
You can't do it.
I can't do it.
All right, I got to ask you, about another big story. This one deals with AI, which you talk about all the time.
Incessantly, yes.
And of course, the company's name is Anthropic, and they're dealing with Department of Defense. And our worst nightmares about what AI could do have to do with surveillance and actually killing machines, robotic killing machines that aren't controlled by humans. And my understanding is the Department of Defense is insisting that this AI company, Anthropic, give them the technology and the permission to use it the ways that they ethically don't approve. Not only them, but every AI company, at least the big ones, the well-funded ones, also don't want to give the U.S. Department of Defense or any other military this functionality. How did I do at summarizing that conflict or story? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, you did very well. The Anthropic and Anthropic has met with Hegseth, the Department of War, and came away and said, no, we're not going to agree. And Hegseth has threatened Anthropic with putting them on the ultimate cootie list, such that not only would the Department of Defense not use them, but anyone who does use Anthropic would be considered dangerous. And the U.S. government wouldn't deal with them then, so it would kill Anthropic, basically, out of Hegseth's macho. There's a lot of sane voices, including former Department of Defense people, voices who are saying, hold on. Does Anthropic have some right to say how its product is used? Yes. Does the Department of Defense have some considerable interest in not being restricted? Yes. But the ground truth here is LLMs aren't reliable to do your lunch menu. They could feed you arsenic because they hallucinate. They're not ready to operate autonomously at tasks, let alone the autonomous task of killing people.
LLM stands for
large language model, so ChatGPT, et cetera. And then in terms of surveillance, the U.S. Department of Defense should not be surveilling U.S. citizens in this country. It's unconstitutional. It's posse comitatus. It's them having taken on a police role. So at that level, regardless of whether it's Anthropic, regardless of whether they have any rules, this shouldn't even be in the agenda here. Now it gets more complicated because in an exclusive in the Wall Street Journal, Sam Altman from the ever more desperate OpenAI is on the one hand saying, I want to come in and I want to be a peacemaker here, acting a little bit like Trump going for his Nobel Prize, but also saying that he wants to do a deal with the government so they can use his stuff. And he's saying he wants them to do the same rules that Anthropic has, but it gets all the more complicated now. There needs to be an off-ramp here because Anthropic, and I'm weirded out by Anthropic in this sense. I can't figure out what I think of them. On the one hand, they're part of the AGI, artificial general intelligence. We can build the better human brain, and we can then destroy the world cult. They also, their definition of safety is that we're not going to destroy the whole world because we're so powerful we could. I don't buy all that bullshit. On the other hand, Anthropic does try to operate according to principles. Anthropic's, I'm not a coder, but those who do code say it's just unfriggin' believable what it can do. It's being very strategic and creative. It's scary in various industries because it's showing what it can do, what its software can do in place of some people, and you can look at that two ways. So on the one hand, it and Google to me are the two smartest AI companies out there. On the other hand, I think they're a little weird about some of their stuff. So when they come to a conflict like this, versus Hegseth, it's not hard to see who you vote for. You vote for whoever's against Hegseth. But it's a complicated thing. That's a needless fight, and it could be very dangerous where it lands. It could destroy Anthropic.
God forbid.
Yeah, actually, and even though we all have some doubts about AI. I mean, I'm fascinated by AI. I think it does amazing things. I think it's being overblown to a considerable extent. I'm on 2 AI podcasts, so I'm interested in the topic. So I understand that I'm not trying to say that it's too big to fail in that sense, but it's a terrible precedent. And supposedly, now cue Joe Scarborough. This isn't the conservatives that I knew. They wouldn't have interfered with companies like this.
Yeah, those conservatives are gone, or at least they're out of power. almost entirely, because it's that those conservative ideology no longer matters. It's a kind of a fascist ideology, or it's just a power ideology, which is fascism, which is we have to win, including cheating to win, and rigging everything so that we can have our people in the right places. That's the ideology that Republicans now hold overwhelmingly. And I brings me to these reporting that, believe it or not, I guess was originally from the Washington Post, about what the administration is trying to do in November to make sure that they win the elections, and what they were doing in Atlanta, what the feds were doing in Atlanta, and how they're going to blame the 2020 loss, which he did lose. Obviously, they're going to say that he won and China interfered or some nonsense. What do you think about that story? And what do you think about where we are right now and where we need to be by November? And I think that when you tell people, when you try to make it harder for people to vote, it is going to bring out more people than ever before. It's kind of going to backfire the way that so many of the other policies and choices that they have made backfired. It looks scary. It's not unlike when they got rid of Kimmel. It's not unlike when they arrested Don Lemon. It looks really bad when it happens. It's not unlike what happened in Minneapolis. It's terrible. People died. People have lost their jobs. It's not unlike what they tried to do when they try to silence people's speech over Charlie Kirk back to Kimmel. It all is bad, and there are consequences, and there is real damage, but it backfires. And I think that's what's going to happen with the midterm elections. And they're going to do everything they can to intimidate people. They're going to do everything they can to rig it, but there's going to be so many people coming out to vote that they can't win. What do you think?
From your lips to God's ears. That's a wonderfully optimistic view, actually, that will come through. And I think that you could be right. For all the reasons you said, I think it could draw more people out to vote. I think that it could mobilize and energize us good guys. However, he has powers now that reach beyond that. And he has his own personal Gestapo. And he can use them to do more than just intimidate voters, but destroy ballots. He can use the post office in ways I don't think we've fully anticipated. He has the Supreme Court that, yes, sure, they slap him around on tariffs, but that's because they value dividends more than they value humans and democracy. There's too many other levers here that put us at danger. If it's all about him trying to keep people from voting and they vote in greater numbers anyway, then yes, hallelujah. But I fear what else could happen. And the Washington Post story, which was well reported and really important and a big break, but the Washington Post itself downplayed it. Their headline was, Trump, seeking executive power over elections, is urged to declare emergency. That sounds like some normal bureaucrat is saying, oh, there's problems in the elections, and so I'm going to urge you, Mr. President, to use your power to this. No, this is authoritarianism. This is the Reichstag fire. This is them trying to take over once and for all and eliminate voting as the key power and institution in democracy. And the Post soft pedals it, because that's the Post today. It finally did I saw it get picked up on MS Now. It's finally being talked about out there. It's finally out there. But it's Project 2025 become real, very real.
Right. Before I let you go, got to ask you just for your take on the developing biggest story for months now, maybe the Epstein files. The latest is, as I mentioned, that there's a whole bunch of pages missing. Those pages had to do with accusations against Trump himself by a 12 or 13-year-old girl, if I've got that right. And I don't think this is going anywhere. And I think it's getting worse. It's getting worse for the administration. We're finding files and pictures that they're hiding. They brought Hillary Clinton up, and they look terrible because, A, they don't let her testify in public, and B, what came out of it was embarrassing for them because nothing came out of it. Today, it's Bill Clinton. What do you think of this story that just keeps not dripping, but really overflowing into our newsfeed and into our lives?
I think it's nationally embarrassing that England and France and Switzerland with the World Economic Forum and other countries are acting. Norway are acting on the Epstein file revelations, and we're not doing crap. The cover up here continues.
Yeah.
There are another 3 million documents. God knows what's in them. One thing, this story that's not getting much coverage is that The Guardian says they have seen the missing 3 memos. Yes,
I had not heard this.
that describe the interviews, and like as so often in these cases, the victim slash witness is going to have complicating factors, as this one does. The notes I'm reading from The Guardian here, the notes describe how the woman came forward to tell agents she recognized Epstein from a photo sent by a childhood friend, only the first, and so on and so forth. The allegations had not been verified. The FBI never brought charges related to her claims, which at times, says The Guardian, appear outlandish. There's some disagreement when she said she met him and how she said she met him, and Epstein's brother says, well, he wasn't really there then. Who knows? It's she said, he said. What she claimed happened, who knows? But the issue is, don't we know, and as Americans, we know better than anything else, that it ain't the details, it's the cover-up. So whether or not these 3 documents are credible in the long run, whether they would have resulted in further investigation and prosecution, may be irrelevant in the sense that what mattered is they were hidden. Are they, but you go back, does it matter anymore?
Right.
How many missing Rosemary Woods, how many missing minutes was it in the tape? I can't remember. 9 minutes. Do you even know what I'm talking about? You know who Rosemary Woods is?
No, I don't.
Nixon's secretary, who supposedly reached this way and that way and erased, how many missing minutes was it? 18 and a half minute gap in the Watergate tapes, in the White House tapes. And that led to Nixon's downfall.
We're not there.
We're not there. And I think, if this document comes out and Trump is in fact accused of raping a teenager, I don't think that'll get rid of him. What would it take?
He said he could do it. He said he could do it and get away with it on tape. And he said that.
Is there just a parlor game here? Because the time was, if we had tape of him using the N-word, that'd be that. The tape of him grabbing women's genitals, that'd be that. No, it's not that, right? Can you imagine anything that would cause Trump to have to leave office?
Well, what would it mean? What it would mean would be that Republicans in the Senate and the House would vote to remove him, or a 25th Amendment removal, right? But there's things short of that. And I'll be optimistic and cling to those, which is so many of these right-wing bro podcasters who helped him get elected have turned against him. He's also a tremendous amount of influence, support, enthusiasm, momentum, and you need that. And he's had that and he's lost it. And I think that matters. I think it matters a lot for a number of reasons in terms of what he wants to get done, what he can get done. He's going to be a lame duck and may or may not get removed from office as a result of something that came out. I highly doubt it. But after January 6th too, which we didn't mention, but it remains to be seen. And if they think that he is going to be, holding them back, which he is, Republicans are losing everywhere and Democrats are winning everywhere in traditional Republican strongholds. That matters. I think it matters. And it matters enough. Let me put it this way. There's an outcome that we can measure. And that is Democrats are likely to win back the House, and they could potentially win back the Senate. And that would matter a great, great deal. And so I think that needs to be worked for. And we need to do everything we can to make sure that happens.
Do you think that if, presuming, knock wood, light a candle, cross fingers, we at least win back the House, should the House impeach him again?
Absolutely.
Will they?
Yes.
Okay.
Also think, ask me who the 2028 nominee is going to be. I'm never wrong about these predictions. I predicted that the Republicans would nominate Mike Pompeo, and yes, he didn't run, but I can still tell you why I was right about that. I won't go into it. I do believe that the nominee for 2028 will be Georgia Senator John Ossoff. He will win the nomination, and Democrats will nominate John Ossoff.
Whoa.
What do you think of that? What do you think of that?
We'll bring that back to haunt you.
What do you got?
See, I'm not going to, because I rail against journalists predicting stuff. It's not their job to predict.
Fun thing to do at the end of our talk. If you and I weren't
off.
I know, and just be a hypocrite. What do you got?
I got a weird one from left field. Did you see the current Wired cover?
No.
Since you are a woke man of sensible, so let's look at See if I can find it for you real quick.
Is it Gavin?
So if you go to news.google and search for Wired covers, you'll see Wired cover on text "gay mafia ignites controversy." See if you can see it. There.
Did you put it in the chat there?
I did not.
Oh.
I don't have to email. I'm on a different computer, so I'll have to email it to you. Hold on.
Wired Gay Mafia.
Pete Dominick. Here we
I'll
go.
find it for you. Inside the Gay Tech Mafia, the cover.
Yeah. Did you see it?
I see a picture at that article of a naked man, almost naked man, holding a building.
So no, there's two hands reaching out to from men's zippers to shake hands.
Oh.
To illustrate a gay tech mafia. I
see it now. Yeah. Okay. Oh God, that's a hilarious image. What is it supposed to mean? I'm going to share it with everybody.
It's gay men crossing streams for power, I guess is what it's trying to say. But why they would mark gay men by their penises rather than every damned straight man who's in charge of every institution in the world. It's, I found it terrible judgment.
Inside the Gay Tech Mafia. Yeah, that it's enough. That seems offensive.
Okay. I wanted to see because I haven't heard anybody talking about it. And I thought, you're a woke guy.
I mean, the way that you frame it. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Yeah. Why is that? That could be the picture of every deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Deal made in any industry in any powerful corner of the world.
Larry Ellison and David Zaslav. Yeah, right there. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. All right. There it goes. Well, I'm so glad to see you. I'm so glad you're feeling better. Great to catch up with you as always. I hope everybody goes and supports Jeff Jarvis right now. Buzz Machine. Get all the books. Support him on all the social media. Follow him right now. Where are you mostly posting? Blue Sky is where I see you.
Blue Sky mostly. I like Blue Sky well. Yes.
Check him out there. He's on a billion other podcasts, and he'll let you know.
I'm a podcast slut.
I love it. You were in a hospital bed podcasting.
I did. I meant to. So I'm on this podcast called Intelligent Machines, and I got a guest on the show who I wanted to meet, and it was my fault he was on there. And so I wanted to just say to him hello to him before the show, and then the person who was supposed to substitute for me couldn't. They had an emergency. So yes, in my hospital gown,
you had an emergency too.
I did, but I have a podcast Uber alles, man.
Podcast Hooer.
The podcast must go on.
We love that spirit, and we're so happy that you joined me today. Thanks for watching live, everybody, and I will talk to you all later. Thanks, folks. Bye-bye.